Hello everyone, Blizzard here, and this would be the first series on the channel. I hope you guys enjoy, and for now let's start. What if a being is made out of nothing, appeared of nowhere? What if this being has an unimaginable power that can only be attained by reaching godhood? What if this being was sent to the world where humans had something called quirks? Would he choose the path of villainy? A path to kill everything in sight, to destroy everything he touches, to see the world burn? Or would he take the path of heroism, where he will save everyone that he can, or prevent disasters that can cause a lot of deaths? This is the story of a being that is named Izuku Midoriya, a person known not only throughout his entire world, but also to the other universes. Now let's dive into his journey on whether becoming he will be the most feared man in the whole multiverse, or will he be a man who give hope to those who are in need of it. Without wasting any more time, let's get right into it. A green-haired woman with a beautiful emerald eyes was crying in front of her door, and there stood a man that has a black hair with dull eyes, like there isn't any emotions in them. The man was smoking a cigarette and looking down at the green-haired woman. Honestly, he thinks this woman is pathetic. She kept crying for the whole month because a doctor said that she can't have a son. Her body cannot handle the stress that would be put in her body when she gets pregnant, but this wasn't the reason why the man is so angry. No, that wasn't the right word. He was disappointed. Why is he disappointed? He doesn't know, but he knew it was because of this woman. Her name is Inko Midoriya, his soon-to-be ex-wife. It's not like they argued a lot. In fact, they were a happy couple before the entire thing happened. Grunting, the man opened the door and left the house with a large bag he was carrying. After that day, the woman named Inko Midoriya was devastated. Her dream on becoming a mother was shattered just like that because her body won't be able to handle the stress. She drank an entire bottle of alcohol. She was drunk, devastated and broken to do anything other than drink her sorrows away. As it rained outside, as the clouds seemingly crying for the tragedy that befallen the woman, she lost the hope, her dream and Hisashi in a single month. Now she is in her house, lonely, scared, and depressed. As she finished drinking, she goes to the bathroom and looks at herself in the mirror. Her face was getting a bit chubby, and her hair was messy, though this isn't what broke her. What broke her was her eyes. She saw previous emerald eyes turned into a green, dull, emotionless eyes. After she saw herself in the mirror, she left the bathroom and go to the kitchen. What if she end it all in this night? She couldn't take it much more, the pain, the suffering she had endured when those words hit her like a truck. Flashback: sorry mom, but you wouldn't be able to conceive a child, even if you tried to. As the doctor said, shocking the couple. Hisashi wasn't though. He already thought that Inko wasn't able to conceive a child, but this confirmed his theory about his wife. Then the doctor continued, she wouldn't be to handle the child if she were even to try. To be precise, her body wouldn't be able to handle the stress that would be put on her body if she were to conceive a child. And it also seemed that she has a rare disease nowadays. We call it primary ovary insufficiency, or POI for short. As POI is a condition in which a woman's ovaries stop producing hormones and eggs at a young age. Women with POI ovulate irregularly, if at all, and may have abnormal levels of ovarian and pituitary hormones due to problems with their ovaries. Though it is still possible, there is still the problem of the stress in your body, so yes, it is most likely that you wouldn't be able to conceive a child. Flashback end: the word wouldn't be able to conceive a child hurt her. Her dream on becoming a mother to a child was now gone. She wanted to try and adopt a child, but she couldn't as she doesn't have the paper necessary to take in the child, and with Hisashi gone, her funding wouldn't even last long for a month with herself, let alone adopting a child. As then she took a knife in a drawer. If I do this, no one wouldn't even miss me. Right? So why not do it? I'm done with this pain. I couldn't handle it much longer. As she neared the knife to her neck, attempting to stab herself to the throat. But before anything happened, a lightning hit outside of her house, shaking it like there's a massive earthquake that just her house. Immediately she dropped the blade to the table, eyes widened on what she was about to do. She wanted to curl up in a ball and just cry herself to sleep till it gets better. But before she hyperventilate even further, she heard a faint cry of a child outside her door. Mother instincts kicking in, or what she think it was, she immediately stand up and run to the door to see a baby that is on the mattress outside. But there wasn't supposed to be a mattress over there, though she shook her head and took the baby inside the house to cover him up. Never would she knew that this action just changed an entire world, no, the entire multiverse, that if this child was given to the wrong hands, this child could be the fear incarnate, but if this was given to the people that will treat him right, he will be the ray of hope in the future, the ray of hope for everyone that knew him. No one knew if this child would push those next generation for better or for worse. Now, after 3 years, the child grew, now named Izuku Midoriya, was happily playing with his mother, though it wasn't really playing on normal standard. It's like controlling a power that is both unknown to the both mother and son. They are controlling the small objects around them, as Inko was pulling the small block that is in the air, or attracting it to be precise. As Izuku was coating it with a golden energy that seemed to be pulling it towards him, it seemed that they were playing a tug of war while using their power. Inko smiled at her adorable son that was not even blood related to her, but she loved her baby like he was her own baby that she yearned for years was given on that faithful day that everything that she cared for left her, her dream, her desire to become a mother, and her husband that she thought she will be with forever till the end. But as everything ended in that night, it also started something that she knew she will cherish forever, her son. The one who saved her from that day where her hope is lost. He appeared like a beacon of hope for her. Till now she will remember that day, not because it was her most tragic day, but it was where her son appeared. After they finished playing, Inko called her Izuku to eat, as her son started to float towards his chair and sat down. Izuku patiently waits for his mother to put his food on the table as he smiles happily. Inko doesn't know it, but it seems Izuku had already unlocked his quirk. But it is still not known, as she was skeptic about sending Izuku to the doctor to check his quirk at such a young age, cause they will surely be interested at Izuku. Cause of a quirk at such a young age might be very well a huge discovery about quirks, but they'll have to make experiments and more that wouldn't endanger her Izuku. But with much attention it will also cause some attention from the villains that is lurking in the shadows. That's why she doesn't allow her son to go to the doctor till Izuku reached the age of 4. She will protect her son to her full capabilities, even if she needs to become a hero to defend him to any threat. Chapter 2, The Strength of a Mother. Izuku, are you ready to go now? We'll be late for the sale. Inko Midoriya said through the house's hallway as she heard his son said coming and saw him. He was dressed in an adorable night hoodie with a bright smile on his face. The infectious smile also reached his mother as Inko smiled back to her son. Come here, Inko said while she stretched her arm out to Izuku. Izuku immediately flung towards his mother and she was able to catch him in a tight embrace. 15 minutes later, the mother and son reached the store that they were supposed to buy to, as Izuku was a very independent child, to be able to read letters on his own, just reading the subtitles while watching All Might Save the Day and just remembering how his mother say it, and he can now talk like a high schooler. Very fluent and very easy to understand. She knew her son was a genius, a one-in-a-generation genius. A few moments later Izuku and Inko was able to get some groceries and some food for takeout, before they go outside of the mall. Outside was suddenly attacked by a villain that has a strength-enhancing quirk. She and Izuku need to get out in here, so they had gone to a alleyway to run to their parking slot, but before they do so, a man appeared with a knife and suddenly aimed his knife at them. Give me your wallet or I will have to use force. The mugger said don't her. Before Inko finished her sentence, she was suddenly in trance, not in a brainwashed trance, but it seems that the villain can give illusions to those who talk back to them. What did you t? Before Izuku get to finish, he was also suddenly hit by the illusion. Now Izuku didn't fear anything, not even those villains for unknown reasons, but what he felt was fear, yes, fear for something, for his life. No, it was for his mother's life, as the child saw that her mother, lying there lifeless. Fear is not the only thing he felt, it was also rage for someone who did this and worry for his mother, but before he was able to dwell on it, the illusion vanished. Though the mugger was already making his way to Inko, he didn't notice Izuku break out of his illusion. Izuku saw the knife, he remembered his mom on the pool of her own blood, he was the one who did this man. Anger seemed to engulf him, but the thought of it, their mother dead right in front of them, was not of any child to comprehend. As the child hyperventilate, Izuku not knowing that he hit his mother's leg while curling up to a ball. As Inko was shown the body of Izuku that was on top of his own blood, though she cannot dwell on it, she was not much affected by it, as she felt it was an illusion but was worried sick for her son, so she tried to get out by running in circles, as suddenly she felt that she was kicked to the leg, and then she snapped back to reality and saw Izuku crying, shaking, and hugging himself to comfort himself to this. Then with anger in her eyes, she glared at the mugger that was right in front of her and lunged at her while trying to attract the knife that the mugger was holding. She got the knife, but she also kicked the mugger to the stomach, causing the man to cough up, and she stabbed the hand of the mugger, making the mugger shout in pain. After her attack, she ran up to Izuku and run away with her, holding a crying Izuku. After they got back, Inko just hugged Izuku because the child was still shaking because of the trauma of seeing whatever illusion that was given on him. After Izuku fell asleep, Inko looked at her hand. She knew how to fight because of the martial art classes she took as a teenager, just to defend herself, because at that time, there is still a lot of crime and getting attacked by a villain was a daily occurrence, but luckily she didn't encounter any villains, but now she encountered one and injured the man badly enough that he will need at least 2 months to heal by the pain. She knew she struck a spot where the one who got attacked will experience an unbearable pain, that even the phantom pain will be the same, or at least she hopes so. She doesn't regret that she attacked that man, because it's either him or them. At least no one died on this incident, but she knew she couldn't be more careful from now on. She need to do something, she need a way to protect Izuku while also being there with him. She think, before she knew it, she fell asleep while having a dream about her being a hero. Chapter 3: Sudden unknown power. The mother and son duo is now walking down the street. Izuku can't help but be wary of his surroundings because of the illusion that he saw. It was still vivid, so vivid that he still remembered that he can even remember the mugger's face and the pool of blood that scared him to no end. He can't handle on what he saw on that day. Right now they're going to the doctor to check on his mental health and to also check for his quirk. It was now 5 months after that incident, and the mugger was definitely caught. The mugger's name was Hishai Tsukauchi. He was also the cousin of the one who interrogated them a few days after the incident, Naomasa Tsukauchi. He told them that his cousin was influenced by his father. Now that his father is taken into the court and was sentenced into prison because of his villainy, now he is following his father's footsteps, and he was displeased about the information. Sorry kid, but you can't become a hero. This struck the boy's heart, and was frozen in place. Inko, knowing the thing that his son had the dream to become a hero, but someone said that he can't. She won't allow anyone to disrespect her son like that. As she kept her glare at the doctor sweat dropped. I'm sorry mom, but am I right to assume that you're a 4th generation, your quirk I mean? Yes, naturally. As she howled in her anger towards the doctor, by all right, if you have a quirk it'll manifest by the age of 4, or possibly it's some odd complex quirk. Now take a look at here. The doctor pointed at a picture. According to the research, the dawning of the great phenomeno. It's all in the joins in the pinky toe. The doctor started tapping at the picture. Parts of the human body we don't really use are called vestigial. People without the extra joint deviated from the standard mold. Little Izuku here has 2 joints, in this era that is quite rare. It also indicates that he is a standard mold, meaning without a quirk. After they got home, Izuku was devastated, because he was said to be quirkless, so he can't become a hero, but he forget one thing that he has power unknown to people here. After he finished dinner he goes upstairs, and Inko putting it to Izuku's favorite video, She thinks it's quite scary that this video is full of screams and despair, but Izuku seemed to like it, so she doesn't mind. As she walked towards the door, she suddenly stopped by someone calling her mom. Mom. Izuku called out without a hint of emotion. All Might is awesome, right? No matter where people in trouble, he goes and save them with a smile. Slowly, Izuku turned the chair he was sitting on towards his mother while tears in his eyes. Inko was there. Frozen. She was not shocked actually, she was devastated. She saw her cheerful son turned into a crying mess, shaking and pointing at the computer. "'Cause he's a super awesome hero. Do you think I could become like him too?" Immediately, without a single hesitation, Inko lunged towards her son and hugged him in a tight hug with tears in her eyes, and she said with a shaking voice, "Of course Izuku, you'll become the greatest hero that will be known to man, I know it. And I will be there to support you." Izuku's dull eyes suddenly gleamed with hope, gleamed with something kin to a light that is inside of a vast darkness. Izuku and Inko hugged each other, forgetting everything around them and cherishing the moment that they were currently in. Izuku was not in tears because of despair, he was now crying in joy because he knew that his mother will support him till the end, until he is ready to become what he wants to be. Next day, Izuku had woken up. It was 4 years after that day, that particular day, where his hope was rekindled by his mom, the hero of his life. Izuku had gotten up and make his uniform slowly come over to him. Izuku seemed to master something kin to a telekinesis quirk, but it was not that. Izuku had something, but he doesn't know what. He can strengthen himself with this weird particles. He can also manipulate this weird particle to his own will, allowing him to have something like a telekinesis by coating this energy around the said item and moved it by lifting it with this particle. It was golden. Pure golden, but it sometimes turned into white, like a void of nothingness, not with void like others think, a void with only white light came off the world. After this, Izuku dressed and moved to the kitchen to eat breakfast that was made by his mother. Both of them smile at each other as they both sat down and eat. Izuku wasn't particularly a delinquent, but he was notorious on being a quirkless, but still can defeat those who angers him enough. He was also called a top dog to his school. Everything happened because of that fateful day, where Kochen wanted to beat up a kid that was in the ground shaking. Of course, a kid that is hoping to become the best hero, defended and helped the kid that was shaking on the ground, but if he wanted to leave, he had to go through Kochen first. As his childhood best friend was also known because of the powerful quirk that he acquired, or it shown up during a class and everyone was amazed by it, because all of the praise, his best friend started to think everyone is below him and he will become the next #1 hero. No one compared Izuku to Bakugo until it was heard by everyone that Izuku defeated Bakugo and his goons. He defeated them in a 1v3 situation like All Might. Well, Izuku did not defeat them in a fight though. The truth is that because of a sudden burst of energy, Izuku knocked them out in an instant, supposed to be called a battle. Izuku shook his head and leave his train of thoughts as he looked towards his school and saw Kochen. This wasn't be a good day for sure. Time skip after school. Izuku is now walking down the street as he sensed something, as he ignored it because he sometimes get this weird feeling, but as soon as the weird sensation disappeared it appeared with a gust of wind above the sky. Izuku saw 2 people in the middle of the sky fighting. One has a white hair and with a maniac grin on his face, while the other one. Yeah, he wasn't expecting the #1 hero to suddenly appeared out of nowhere, and this hero also was above the sky and seemingly struggling on fighting that man in a suit. As then Izuku saw All Might launch a devastating attack towards the man, which made the man in suit flew towards the clearing that was a few hundred meters away. Immediately All Might propelled himself towards where the man flew. Earthquakes was felt in the vicinity and Izuku also felt a small earthquake. Thinking rationally, he will go back to his house and see the news on what happened in that time. But his hero instincts was telling to where All Might flew, where that man in a suit flew. Now Izuku is smart at his age, too smart. He might be already in a final year high school level intellect, but his heroic instinct and his selflessness can become a burden sometimes and make him do something stupid, like going to where All Might is fighting that man. Suddenly he just realized he was already running through the busy area to go and find All Might, and why was he struggling? Izuku wasn't expecting something scary, and at the same time that exhilarating feeling that something is about to happen, Izuku saw the massive crater that had formed to the buildings. Izuku saw people evacuating. It seemed that All Might is still fighting that guy, and it also seemed that the number one hero is struggling to keep everything in control. As he saw the people getting carried away and evacuated, he hides himself to hide from the people who will stop him to see what is going on. Izuku wasn't expecting something like this. At this point he should stop expecting something even if it's scientifically impossible, because it seemed that All Might and this man who is in the suit is bruised and battered because of the fight but still kept going. Blow after blow, shockwave rippled through the air which can send any normal person flying. Izuku saw the man throw a punch towards All Might, but there was a sudden air bubble on his hand and released it at the right time where his palm was in the chest of All Might. Izuku was shocked. Ability to fly, to shoot out compressed air that can deal damage to All Might of all people, but it wasn't an exchange if it was only All Might was hit. It also seemed that All Might punched the gut of his opponent, making both flew opposite to each other. Izuku suddenly saw tendrils that came out of the man in suit hands and took off the rubble that he was under, but he was also surprised that he didn't saw the man had already a bulging arm and ready to punch something like it was nothing. Then the two titans charged at each other and clashed, creating a large shockwave and kicking up dust around them. Izuku, a little kid, at the age of 8, realizes that his idol, the number one hero, is not invincible like he thought. As he saw All Might flew through the air and the man in suit was charging at him, it seemed like All Might is clearly losing at this fight as All Might coughed up blood, but before the man in suit was midway to All Might he spoke. All Might. With that one sentence, Izuku shook. This man is intimidating, his strength is palpable. That Izuku was dazed, but was also shaking. He remembered that day, that same day where he hallucinated that time, where that man used his quirk against him to make him see his mother, lying there, in her own pool of blood. The man is seemingly going to attack the poor wounded hero, and this attack seemed to be his strongest attack put into one, but with a mighty roar, All Might stood up and reared his fist. Another shockwave is released, then the man spoke again. You're resisting. How unsightly. The man just pushed All Might back further. In response, All Might dug his heel to the ground to try and stop himself. I will not back down, all for one. Then All Might charged his power to his right with a yellow lightning that cackled around it, and Izuku was in awe, not because of All Might and the man now named All for One strength, but those who are behind All Might. It's like people from the past. Then this ghostly figures resided back to the right arm of All Might, but not before a woman figure looked at him and smiled. In surprise by the sudden growth in power that was felt in the air, All for One eyes widened. Impact recoil. All for One shouted, and as All Might hit the man in the face, but also receiving his halved strength right back at him, but that did not made him flew away. All Might stood over the bleeding man readying his fist, but was stopped because the man started speaking. Ah, the look of hatred in your face, it reminds me of her, Nana Shimura. All Might had his eyes widened in shock. Was he placing such emotion on his face? Hate. He didn't All for One. Right? But before he can continue on, someone shouted to break his trance. All Might. Izuku had run up to him. He saw on what was All for One about to do and tried to warn All Might. It worked, but All Might was only able to block before the power broke through the way of the arm that was blocking it, sending it upwards, and All for One was able to hit All Might, and was sent flying. Before anyone could do anything, All for One was struck again by something, a sword. No, metal shouldn't be able to cut him because the impact recoil was still on, so his skin will be impenetrable, of course the exception of All Might if he was using a sword. He looked down and saw the kid had stabbed him with a weird sword, an invisible knife. Shaking his thoughts, All for One grabbed Izuku's face to get his quirk, but didn't work. Instead he was sent flying by an unknown repulsive force, but before he impacted to another building, he teleported away. Izuku's mind was racing. He saw All Might flew away, but after he blinked, Izuku was right beside the man and was holding something in his hand. The man bled there, but after a second he tried to hold Izuku's face just to be sent flying by unknown repulsive force. Now Izuku's vision was blurry, his eyes is closing slowly, but before he completely shut his eyes he saw it, a golden particle, and the thing that he was holding earlier disappearing. Even though it look invisible, he can see it a bit. A sword with a golden appearance. It was like a holy sword. It's like what he saw in the internet. Was it called Excel? Before he can continue, he fell down to the ground face first, exhausted by the things he saw today. And that's the end. Hope you guys enjoy. Like and subscribe if you enjoy, and see you guys later.